Hello friends, and welcome back to Random Hearts and welcome to the kitchen. Tonight we are going to continue our little mini series on holiday side dishes. And if you missed our first video on this, I will link that up in the cards so that you can go watch that right now. Tonight we are going to be making a side dish that I think is probably one of the most simple. And if you had asked my 10-year-old self if I would be preparing this at a holiday dinner as an adult, I would have told you pretty much no. I was not a fan of Brussels sprouts as a kid, and I'm not sure if it was just the way they were cooked or if my palate has changed as an adult, but I love Brussels sprouts now and pretty much make them all the time. This is not just a holiday side dish for us, but I do find that its vibrant color makes a perfect pairing along cranberry sauce and all the browns and golds that tend to creep up in a holiday dinner palette. So I want to share with you tonight my Brussels sprout recipe. This is a roasted Brussels sprout with a pinch of heat in it, and we are going to prepare a balsamic glaze to go over the top of it. Tonight's pairing will go with a pork chop that we are going to smoke and some mac and cheese because we are not at the holiday season yet. I am making a small portion of this tonight for just my husband and I, but you can increase the size of this depending on how many people you are serving. So let's go ahead and get started. We've got to clean those Brussels sprouts before we can do anything else. To begin this recipe, you are going to need approximately 8 Brussels sprouts per serving. Because I am serving 2 people tonight, I have about 16 Brussels sprouts in the sink. Typically, I put these into a colander, but I wanted to take the stems off or the scar where they were removed from the plant and show you how I do that. It's about 1/4 inch that I remove from the bottom of the Brussels sprout, and the reason I do that is because when they were removed from the plant, those sections of the Brussels sprout dried out, and it makes it very tough, and it also helps to take off any of the leaves that are a little bit wilted or damaged from their transport. And I do check all of the leaves that fall off because honestly, the leaves that are crispy and those that are separate are usually the best part of the Brussels sprout when it is roasted. Now I am going to dry these really well. I want to make sure that they have no moisture in them. That will affect how the Brussels sprouts cook in the oven. You don't want to be steaming these, you want to be roasting them. You want them to crisp up. So I usually set my Brussels sprout with the rounded part at the bottom, and you do need to be careful here so that they don't slip while you're cutting them. But I cut into that end that we just trimmed up. That is the first part I cut into, and then I just cut them straight in half. It is a perfect little cut. They almost look like tiny little cabbages. And any leaves that come off, don't worry about that. Just go ahead and put those with the rest of the Brussels sprouts. Now I will transfer all of those cut Brussels sprouts to a sheet pan that is lined with a piece of parchment. I like to use parchment because it does clean up easier and it prevents some of the sticking. But we are going to directly mix our seasonings onto the sheet pan. I actually let these sit for a little while, so they're very dry right now. But I do need to get my oven started. We're going to start that at about 400 degrees. So I'll get that going, and while we're getting that preheated, I'm going to get our Brussels sprouts prepared. So I need some olive oil, and because I am not using a very large serving of Brussels sprouts tonight, I probably am only going to use about a tablespoon, maybe a little under. Then I'm going to add a pinch of crushed red pepper flakes, and I do mean a pinch. A little goes a long way here. So just a little pinch of that, some salt and some pepper. And that is pretty much all there is to this. I may give it just a little bit more olive oil. And I just want to mix that up with my hands. So I'm going to get down into this and get that all coated. I want that well coated. And like I said, all of the loose leaves that are coming off, those are actually the best part. They get really crispy and crunchy. And I want to give these some space. I want to make sure that they are not too close to each other, not too on top of each other, so that they all cook really well. So I've got those prepared. I'm going to go wash my hands. We're waiting for our oven to preheat. The timer just went off, so I'm going to go ahead and add these to the oven. These are going to cook for about 30 minutes. I am going to check them at 15 minutes. Give them a little stir. So we'll let them cook for about 15 minutes just on that parchment lined baking sheet. We are again at 400 degrees for approximately 15 minutes, and then we'll check them. My timer just went off, so I'm going to go ahead and check these. You can see all of those loose leaves that had fallen off. Those are getting very crispy. The rest of the Brussels sprouts are not quite there yet, so I'm just going to close this back up and give them another 15 minutes. Now, while those Brussels sprouts are heating up their last 15 minutes in the oven, I am going to go ahead and start the balsamic glaze reduction. I will turn this little saucepan on to about medium heat, and I am going to be using a very high quality balsamic vinegar. This is about a 1/4 cup. That will depend on how many Brussels sprouts you're cooking up. We don't need a whole lot tonight because we have a very small amount of Brussels sprouts. So I will get that going at medium heat, just reducing, and I want to get that into a nice syrupy, almost the consistency of honey. You can see this is definitely already reduced quite a bit. I'm going to keep reducing that, and we'll get it, like I said, to almost a honey consistency. So we'll leave that, keep going. I did reduce the heat though, and I wanted to let you know that. So you can see how this is starting to coat the pan a little. That's exactly what I'm looking for. We'll just keep reducing. Now do be cautious with this, because as the vinegar evaporates, it fills the air with some pretty noxious fumes, and it may affect your eyes and nose. So be cautious. That is exactly what we're looking for. As this cools, it will thicken to a honey consistency. You can see how it's coating the pan. That is exactly what we're looking for. All right, my timer has gone off. These Brussels sprouts look amazing. They are a little bit darker than I typically like, but they will still be delicious. And our glaze is pretty much done here, so we'll get that turned off. And that is perfect. In fact, I'm going to remove that from the heat so it can't cook anymore. And we'll get this served up. Well, friends, that's going to do it for us tonight. We were able to make our side dish of roasted Brussels sprouts along with that balsamic glaze reduction. That is a simple way to top the Brussels sprouts and make them taste extra delicious and special. Now, by no means do you have to use the balsamic glaze on top. You can eat them just like they come out of the oven. There are lots of different recipes to add to Brussels sprouts, but the basic recipe is just roast them with some olive oil, salt, and pepper. And that is pretty much everything for tonight's meal. We are going to enjoy that with our pork chop tonight that my husband is smoking on the grill, and the mac and cheese. So I hope you will join us again. I'm hoping to have another video out in a couple of days. This one will not come out on Monday because my granddaughter's coming to visit tomorrow, and I'm going to spend the day with her and enjoy some time with her. So we hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any of the other videos we are going to share. And we hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.